So today, we're going to take a hard look at Kensington, Philadelphia. But this isn't about gawking at a tragedy. This is a serious deep dive into what happens when the very systems that are supposed to support a modern American city just break down. And more importantly, what that means for the people living right in the middle of it.
You know, this quote right here, it really gets to the absolute heart of the matter. The images coming out of Kensington, they aren't just about drugs. They're the final visible symptom of a much deeper, much older sickness. So let's really dig into what that means.
To even begin to understand Kensington, you have to wrap your head around the paradox of Philadelphia itself. Because it's this city of immense history and importance, living side by side with a humanitarian crisis that feels like it's from another world.
I mean, the contrast is just staggering, right? We're talking about the birthplace of American independence, a city with world-class universities, just a stone's throw from the nation's capital. And yet, inside that same city, you find the largest open-air drug market in the country. It's the absolute epicenter of the synthetic drug epidemic. This isn't happening in some forgotten town in the middle of nowhere. It's unfolding in the heart of a major American city. Now, a huge piece of this puzzle is how the drugs themselves have changed. I mean, they've radically evolved. The crisis we see today has been put on hyperspeed because of a fundamental shift in chemistry, from something that grows in the ground to a purely synthetic poison cooked up in a lab.
And look, this didn't happen overnight. For centuries, opioids were plant-based, like opium. Then the 20th century gave us things like heroin, which kicked off addiction crises all over the world. But the real game changer, the thing that completely rewrote the rules, was fentanyl in the 21st century. And now we're in an even more terrifying phase with something called tranq, a mix that literally causes the human body to decay at an accelerated rate.
So let's be really clear about what this tranq stuff is. The key ingredient, xylazine, was never ever meant for people. It's a tranquilizer for large animals, we're talking horses. So when you put it in a human body, it causes these catastrophic flesh-eating wounds. It makes it harder to reverse an overdose, and the withdrawal from it is so horrific that most hospitals just don't know how to deal with it. So you have to ask, why? Why the big shift to synthetics? Well, it all comes down to cold, hard, brutal economics. Fentanyl is up to 50 times stronger than heroin, but it is so much cheaper to make. Because it's all synthetic, you don't need poppy fields, you don't need complicated smuggling routes. For the cartels, the math is simple, and the result is that our streets have been flooded with a product that's cheaper, way more potent, and infinitely deadly. But here's the thing. A drug this powerful, it can't take root just anywhere. It needs the right kind of environment to really explode. An environment of absolute despair. And that environment was created by decades of systemic neglect. This is the anatomy of that failure.
It's the one question that just hangs over all of this. How on earth did it get this bad? And the truth is, it wasn't one thing. It was a slow, steady collapse of everything. The answer? Well, it's a perfect storm of abandonment. For decades, you had failed economic policies that just hollowed out the community, which led to unimaginable poverty. You couple that with a mental health system that was basically non-existent. What you get is a deeply vulnerable population, who then becomes the perfect target for an open market selling these incredibly cheap, incredibly powerful drugs. It is a textbook case of a society failing its own people. All this talk of policy and economics can feel a little abstract, but the consequences, they are devastatingly real. To truly understand the cost of this collapse, we have to look at the human lives that are caught right in the middle of it. Let me introduce you to John. He's been battling addiction for almost 20 years, but he'll tell you that the last few years, since these new synthetic drugs hit the streets, have changed everything. His legs are being destroyed by necrosis, those same flesh-eating wounds from xylazine we just talked about. He knows, he is totally aware that he should be in a hospital. He needs urgent medical attention, and believe me, he has tried again and again to get it. And this is what happened when he tried to get help. His own words are just a brutal indictment of a system that has completely failed him. He didn't get treatment. He was met with dehumanization, with violence. He wasn't seen as a patient in crisis. He was seen as garbage to be thrown out.
And this is where it all leads. This is the end result of that systemic failure. When every single door is slammed in your face, when every cry for help is met with hostility, what do you have left? You have resignation. John has been pushed to the point where he has simply accepted that this is going to kill him because the world has shown him, over and over, that there is no other way out.
34. He was just 34 years old when he said that, when he accepted his own death sentence. Just think about that. A life surrendered because the systems that were supposed to help just gave up on him first. You know, it is so tempting to look at Kensington and think of it as some kind of isolated disaster, an anomaly. But the forces that created it, the poverty, the lack of mental health care, the flood of synthetic drugs, those forces are at play in cities all across this country. Kensington isn't an anomaly, it's a warning signal.
This quote from a young man there really cuts through all the noise, doesn't it? Addiction so often isn't the root problem. It's a symptom. It's an attempt to escape a reality that has become unbearable. It's a coping mechanism for trauma and pain that has gone completely untreated.
And that brings us to this final, terrifying question. The story of Kensington is the story of what happens when all of a society's safety nets, healthcare, housing, jobs, mental health support, all of them rip apart at the exact same time. It forces us to ask ourselves, when our systems fail, who is left to catch the people who fall? And what is our responsibility to them?